As you'd have seen in the previous video, I explained my life before StavTech on the internet, and it was magazines. And it started in 2005 for J-Tuner magazine, which again I explained in the previous video. But then after a few months, as I also explained how they sort of stole me, I went on to Redline magazine, and I worked for them from this point, which was sort of mid 2005, right the way till the end of Redline, which was almost Christmas 2011. But these early days were the really fucking fun days. The later days, you lot are like when I show you the magazines, because there's a lot of testing and tuning that we did. These early days, yeah, it had performance, but it was a whole lot of dicking about, and it was mad fun, like properly mental, which is what I'll explain in this. This, technically, was the first issue I was officially introduced to the magazine. But this one, which was the one before, which is a bit knackered, but I'll show you anyway, was really the first issue that I had anything to do with. And I'll show you this one just because, well, it's kind of a sign of things to come. So I'll put this one back to me. Right, so this is the first issue. I'm not officially working for the magazine, but here we are. It is the typical 2005 spec stuff, so fucking Lambo doors and shit body kits, but this was all the rage back then. This kind of stupid shit is a sign of things to come, as you know, literally with Redline we would have features meetings where we was usually down a pub, so we was usually drunk, and you know, it'd be like, let's think some feature ideas, and fucking anything went, you know, be it proper testing cars or just being dickheads. And this one, thrifty drifting, as in got no cash for a proper drift car. Bear in mind this is 2005, before drifting was much of a thing like it is now. So other shit drifts. So literally outside the office with, you know, this is Dan, that's Sean, used to work for Mag, trying different things. Literally a fucking shopping trolley, a kid's trike, a hostess trolley, an office chair, or a hybrid of the two. You know, literally it was like whatever. And back then Redline used to sell so many issues, you couldn't really go wrong. The readers just like this kind of dicking about stuff. I mean, we loved it too. And so, you know, the publisher would be like, yeah, cool, let's do it. So this kind of shit. Here's another interesting one. Driftworks. I'm sure most of you know who Driftworks is now. You probably follow the Driftworks YouTube channel, because it's bloody good. And you might recognise that man there, Phil Morrison. That is the man who owns Driftworks. As you probably know, he's in all the videos. I've known him since this sort of date and before, actually. But this is the original, and arguably by some the best, Driftworks S14. Absolute mega car. And wow, Driftworks back here wasn't even Driftworks. Driftworks was a thing, as you see there's the logos, but look, Sunstrip is Team Night Spirit, which is also one of the other people from that team was Paz, who I talk about in the previous J-Tuner one, because I featured his car. But yeah, I mean, look at Phil's job. Don't know if it's a focus. AV facilitator. Back then, you know, before, now he's, as you can tell by the Porsche and the Lamborghini and the BMWs and all that, he's minted. But he's not like minted because he's, you know, rich family or anything. He's built that himself. 15 years ago, he basically worked at, I think it was Birmingham Uni, helping the do all the lighting and sound for the theatre place at Birmingham Uni, for the media stuff. That was his job. And yeah, and now look at him. So yeah, if you ever think these people, oh yeah, it's just because they're rich or whatever, you know, rich family or this kind of shit. No, Phil actually built up Driftworks from fuck all. I think they started in their attic, if I remember right, selling bits and pieces, to this mega bucks, millions of quid company it is now, that you've seen all over YouTube. From being an AV facilitator when I first knew him, he used to be as poor as me. He's the same age as me, roughly. Actually, he's a bit older. Yeah, he's about 2 years older than me, actually. But yeah, this is the car back then. That's the exhaust, by the way, out the rear quarter, which is pretty badass. That was a very, very sort of new thing back then. But yeah, had a fairly ordinary SR20 in it at the time. Here we go, Driftworks. So you read it, but yes, it says Driftworks is a company set up by Phil and James Robinson, as in Phil, and James, who's still the other guy at Driftworks who you see in the videos with their Clio and stuff. And yeah, look, this is sort of when they were just beginning Driftworks. Look, their aim is to introduce the UK's first drift specific shop. You know, literally, Driftworks was just becoming a thing back then. It didn't even really exist. GT28 RS and a Pepsi Paris C. And yeah, and now look at them 15 years later. Lambos, Porsches, M3s, fucking LSX powered A86. Fair play. You can make money without being rich already and without just selling drugs. That helps as well. But no, doing it the legit way they've done it. Look at the success. Fair play to them. Actually, here's a funny bit from this first issue. Obviously, Redline back then, I'd always had the girls in magazines. But we had two sets of things we would do. We had the main model and what we used to call Bodywork Babe. Bodywork Babe, no joke, they did it for free. They did it because the magazine was famous and they wanted to be in the mag. Do you know what I mean? This is how fun it used to be back then. But yeah, you know, this was free. This bird, she worked in the pub down the road. And yeah, we asked her and she said okay. And so there you are. Right, on to the first official issue that I was part of Redline, where I'm actually introduced. September 2005. And the mad thing is, that cover car feature, I fucking wrote. My first ever issue, I'd had to do the bloody cover car. And this is Paul Howard, that owns JDM Garage, who's still around these days, down in Devon, that import loads of cars and so on. And again, I've been friends with him since this is where I met him, and we've been friends ever since. This was GT Battle, and this was, they were called, this lot was Shock Models or some shit they were called. I still know Nicky, that one. The rest of them, no. And yeah, here we go. Me and Pasty, as in Sai Patel, we were introduced. We sort of started at the same time. And yeah, it's literally, this is where they started calling me Stavros in Redline. But that's always been my nickname since I was about 14. So, you know. And yeah, back in the day, look how many people we had on the staff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people. At the end, there were about 4 people, 3 people. And these days, most magazines got even less. Most magazines these days have got 1 person and a fucking some freelancers. But yeah, back then it was so easy. You know, we used to feel a bit hard done by if we did more than about 2 pages a month, because there was 11 of us. But yeah, by the end of it, we was, you know, when the magazine got smaller and the staff got smaller, we were doing the whole magazine between about 3 or 4 of us. But yeah, back in it was literally a fuck about, but getting paid for it. And yeah, tits were everywhere, even on all the adverts. There's me with hair and a fucking Henry Lloyd top on, like a proper chavvy. Yeah. Paul Howard, young Paul Howard. He went on, still friends with him as well. He went on to be a hill climber with a mental Peugeot 106, if I remember rightly. He also looks a lot like 80s TV star Gary Wilmot. I always say that's his dad, but yeah, he don't have to look like Gary Wilmot. Yeah, Paul's Supra, crazy wide arch 2J, big single turbo thing. We shot this in the middle of the night. I mean, night. We finished the shoot at 6 AM and it took all night. We started at about 8 PM and we did it at, in and around Canary Wharf, which, as anyone probably knows, ain't the easiest thing to do. It was all around the Docklands, and yeah, it was mental because it was deserted to fuck, as you can imagine, but it's not easy to get around there anyway. And yeah, this thing's like 700 plus plate, and yeah, drifting it around the underground roundabouts. A lot of you Londoners will know where that is. This is September 2005, so we did this sort of middle of August. Yeah, this was like 4 o'clock in the morning. Paul drifting a 700 brake Supra. Like I said, Paul was based down Devon Cornwall border. They'd driven all the way up from Devon for this feature. I remember we wouldn't see anybody for hours, and then randomly this bunch of Chinese, Japanese people sort of appeared from somewhere. I think they might have been like maybe fucking illegal immigrants or something, I don't know, because they couldn't speak English, and where they appeared was in the weirdest fucking desertedest place. Like they'd maybe just got out of a boat or a lorry or something. It was so strange, but they did like the car. But I do remember that was bizarre. But yeah, drifting a fucking Supra at 4 o'clock in the morning in London. And this is daylight now. This was the end of the feature. This was about 6 AM and we was doing fucking burnouts, T78, usual old school 2J tuning. And yes, it had Lambo doors. This was 2005, everything had Lambo doors. That was cool back then. Full interior, big bottle of nitrous. Again, it was 2005. Yeah. 2005, so it had a banging stereo. It was square subs, as 2005 as you can get. Yeah, Paul was bloody only 23 at the time. Jesus. Yeah, 11 by 18s on the front, 14 by 18s on the back. Those wheels, if you was wondering. Mental. And he was drifting it like that. This, however, was the first car I actually went to do the feature for Redline. And it couldn't be further from what I'm into if I tried. Fucking glitter painted Saxo, and I think it was like a 1.1 or something. But we got it inside a roller rink, which again is about as old school as you can imagine. I didn't even know they existed back then. But we found a roller rink and convinced them to let us in. So we shot it in a roller rink with all the disco lights and shit to go with the glitter paint. And yeah, we literally, and again, Lambo doors. But yeah, glitter painted fucking Saxo. I don't know where you can see all this, but they basically let us loose with everything. So we nicked their roller skates, their afro wigs, their slush puppy machines. That's me with an afro wig on, after falling on the floor and spilling my fucking slush puppy. But the place was deserted. They just let us go for gold. So we basically fucked about in the roller rink all day. Yeah, there's Dav on some roller skates with an afro wig on. Yeah, it was, yeah, a 1.1 litre Saxo on 17-inch Wolf Race wheels, like 7x17s, and fucking Cobra Clubman buckets. I mean, literally, sounds like a joke, but no. And 2 massive fucking exhaust cans. But yeah, I remember this well. Because, yeah, it might not have been my kind of car, but it was still funny as fuck. GT battle at Rockingham. This was a bit of a game changer for UK sort of car shows. Because it had drifting, it had circuit racing, it was at Rockingham, it had D1 cars and D1 drivers coming over. It was, yeah, pretty mental. Oh, there you go. Look, me, a young me, wearing, I think, a fucking Hackett jacket again, with Ken Nomura and Kazama. So yeah, my not really claim to fame, because I met millions of famous people, but back then that was a pretty big deal. A very young Walton Smith, he won it. He won the drifting in that P100 pickup truck. He's a bloody good driver. But yeah, he competed in drifting for years after that. But yeah, back then he won it in that P100 pickup truck, which is quite good. Martin French being how French he was. Here's a another thing that we did a lot of in Redline, most issues, and that was take a load of cars to Brunters and time them. I mean, look, I did that feature too. They actually called me Steve M for some reason. But yeah, this car, weirdly, funny story behind it, that is Danny Campion, who, his brother, way years before this, back when, maybe 5 years before this, Ben Campion, I was friends with because he was at uni in Cheltenham and he used to have a Pulsar GTIR and I had my Cosy, and we all sort of hung around together and used to go Santa Pod and stuff together. And then yeah, and then many years later, 'cause they're from Essex originally, I think it is, and then many years later I ended up knowing and still friends with now, though I haven't spoken to him in a while, his brother, his older brother or younger, I can't remember, but his brother, who had a 4-wheel drive Cosy powered mental Ford Fiesta Mark III, and as you can tell, is fast. Well, 3 to 60 and 6.8 to 100 even now is super fast. Back then that was ridiculous, and more to the point, that's like 3.8 60 to 100, which is, well, a Ferrari F4 is 4.1, for example. The back page again, usual stupid shit. Yeah, these two sort of sum up the mad shit used to happen a lot. It might not look too mad from here, but I'll tell you the story. Basically, Future Publishing had a summer party. I think it was to celebrate like 25 years of existing or something, and they pulled out all the fucking stops. I mean, they had I don't remember what DJ it was, but they had like a top DJ flown in. It was a big outdoor festival party thing just for people that worked at Future. And they had like a top DJ flown in, like you come in on a fucking helicopter, and like entertainers everywhere, free drink all day and all night, free food all day, all night. It was fucking ridiculous havoc. So yeah, and like weird shit like face painters and stuff like that, and all kinds of shit. But yeah, right at the beginning, we was, even on the way there, we was all absolutely off our faces. So yeah, within no time, Dav and Ben Chandler, speed hunters these days, look him up if you don't know him, decided to get naked and streak across the football pitch. And this was before the bars were even meant to be open, but we got on it way sooner than that. I made some mental drink. I can't remember what it is now. This day ruined us all so much. Alcoholic, I've never remembered the mixture, but I made some crazy drink that we all drank. It tasted like Lilt, but it was mostly vodka. It was amazing, but I've never remember how I made it anymore, so this was the last time we ever had it. But yeah, like, this party was fucking ridiculous, to the extent that I don't even know to this day where it's held. I don't think many of us do. We were so drunk, don't know where it's held. I got so pissed, I rang the police about 10 times, convinced that someone had stolen my car. Turns out I'd drunkenly driven it to about half a mile closer to the fucking, I'm parked by the DJ tent, but I was absolutely off my tits and just drove it across the grass and parked it there. And I was ringing the police, convinced that someone had nicked my car. I think 9, 10 times, no, I think like 20 odd times I rang the police. And then you could tell I was drunk, so they weren't taking no fucking notice of me. And yeah, then I found my car and remembered I'd parked it by the DJ tent. I think I slept in that night. And even when we left the next day, everyone was so fucking ruined that we didn't even know where he was to get home. We literally had to drive and be like, where the hell are we? And sort of drive until we recognised somewhere. It was somewhere near Swindon, but I've no clue, even to this day, exactly where it was. Next issue, fucking CRX on hydraulics and fucking big 20-inch wheels or something, and you know, the usual shit that you'd have in 2005. The car that we built, the polite car, basically a fake police car. Back then the police had Volvo T5 estates, so we made a fake one, complete with speed camera, fake speed camera in the back. And yeah, it didn't say police on it, it said polite, so we used to call it the polite car. So yeah, and we just used to use it to fuck about. You could drive down the motorway at like 50 and everyone would believe it was a police car and nobody would overtake you. It was fucking funny as anything. The police didn't like it. The police contacted us many times and tried to basically make out it was a threat to national security and all kinds of shit. But everyone had, you know, Future had a big legal team, so we'd looked into the laws and stuff, and it was legal. That wasn't reflective. It said police on nowhere. It had no blue lights. So even though it was blatantly pretending to be a Volvo traffic car, there's nothing they could do about it. So yeah, we enjoyed fucking about with that. Another example of us just picking random stupid shit and making features out of it. Granny Turismo. So basically, Gran Turismo, as in a computer game, which was a big deal back in 2005. And we dressed up like old ladies and used mobility scooters and so on, and raced around the local multi-storey car park. I mean, that's me on some random bike. That's Dan, that's Pasty, that's me and my dress coming off. I mean, you know, this was like wigs and makeup and everything. Like Dan borrowed these scooters from a local mobility place and went down charity shop and got like old ladies' clothes. That's me again. And yeah, we just raced around, possibly drunk, I don't remember, around the local car park. And yeah, that made a feature. Granny Turismo. And yeah, we got paid for this shit, just being dickheads. It was great. This was a funny one. I featured, I wrote this feature. We did it in a multi-storey car park somewhere, I don't remember where. Me and one of our main photographers, Michael Whitestone. And the feature itself, pretty ordinary. Car's just a Simone racing demo car back then. And yeah, the car itself, no big deal, pretty uneventful. But what I didn't tell Michael Whitestone, who was doing the photography, because his wife wouldn't let him if I told him, was we was also doing a model shoot with Emma. And this was the first time I met her, and there's a long story behind that as well, where I'll explain. I think it's in the next issue, it says. So I will explain that in a minute. But yeah, it was very funny. Right, this is the next issue, issue 96. And I don't remember that much about it. I've got to hide her tits, unfortunately. Yeah, this is what got Michael Whitestone, the photographer, into trouble. Because I didn't tell him we was also doing a model shoot on her that same day. And yeah, and I knew if I'd have said that, he'd have said no, because his wife wouldn't let him. But yeah, this is the first time I met her, and yeah, she was from Nottingham, and she's fucking lovely. I sort of, me and her was close after that for years, probably, well, until she disappeared. I have no idea what happened to her, literally no clue. She sort of was around for years and suddenly nothing, gone. I ain't got the foggiest. I'd love to know what happened to her, but she suddenly disappeared. But anyway, she turned up this day with her agent. Well, that's what he claimed he was. Basically, she was new to all this modelling shit. She didn't get paid for this. This was one of them bodywork babe things, and it was free. You know, just to get her out there. And her agent, to me, just seemed like some fucking random wrong un. And he was mega protective over her. He wouldn't even let me really speak. He was trying his damnedest for me not to speak to her. I think because he knew I knew his fucking game. And but I don't give a fuck about him. He's a dickhead. So I just, you know, I carried on and got her away from him enough to say, like, what the fuck are you with this dickhead for? You don't need, you know, because she thought, you know, she needed some kind of agent to be, you know, working like this. And I was like, no, do you fuck? You know, just do it yourself. You know, we know you are now. Just sack him off. And no joke, this geezer, he looked like a fucking sex case, but he had a business card that said, like, model agent and concrete salesman. He sold concrete for a living, and he also used to pretend he was a model agent. But was he? Fuck, he was just some dickhead. But yeah, she was totally new to it and didn't know any different. But I ruined it for him, but sorted it for everyone else because yeah, she worked for us from then on lots of times. But yeah, this is when I first met her and first sort of, well, in all honesty, cracked on. I was just, as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh my god, I love her. And yeah, I macked on and fucked her bloody agent off. And yeah, you'll see her quite a lot in these magazines from this bit onwards, I think. Here's an interesting one. This is Andy Nichols, who's still around now in front-wheel drive drag cars. And this was his Rover 25, which had a 700 brake Rover engine. Not the Rover K series, but the, what's it called? The 2-litre turbo was in like the 220 turbo and stuff. And it was fast. Look here. It was genuinely mega fast. I don't know why you can see this. But 60 and 4.1, 107.9. So that is basically just over 3.5 seconds from 60 to 100. Fucking insane. And yeah, he did 177 miles an hour almost in just 3/4 of a mile. It would have done 200 in the standing mile almost certainly, but it blew a CV joint at that point, so we had to stop. But he was literally doing 177, and the drive shaft went bye-bye and oil went everywhere, like grease from the CV boot stripped out. The old school Rover 220 turbo engine, just very highly modified. Andy Nichols, 36 back then, but he wishes he was 36 now. But yeah, it was literally only running the GT35, just rinsing the fuck out of it, 45 psi boost. And some nitrous, if I remember rightly. Yeah, nitrous. But yeah, that car was an absolute weapon. Just one thing I missed from working for car mags. We'd get, obviously the manufacturers would send us all their brand new quick cars to test. So although these are pretty old cars to you and, you know, to you and me now, back then these were brand new hot hatches. So the Astra VXR and the Mark V Golf GTI, they were literally brand new back then. For all it's worth, Mark V Golf GTI as standard is a million times better than the Astra. Way better, massively. The worst thing about the Astra is the fucking shit steering wheel and the high seats. Golf's so much better car, way better car. Tracks, which was well, it still is now really, the last sort of big show of the year. But back then it was massive, like proper massive. And Redline was probably the main sort of person to do it. And yeah, Redline stand was full of birds and pole dancers and whatever. And there we all are. And me drinking a Carlin, so that's about as sensible as it got at working while getting pissed with a load of birds. I'm getting paid for it. This bird here, I've got to hide her. She wasn't anything to look at, to be perfectly honest. But the thing I remember about that in this picture is, at the end of the day, she just randomly climbed up on top of a Range Rover and just got completely naked, like butt naked, in, you know, middle of the car show. But there you go. But yeah, birds, cars, good times. Emma again, after I got rid of her sex case pretend fucking agent or whatever he used to make out he was gone by then. I just literally you know, I had her on the case, so we had her working for us loads. But yeah, she was bang on. Louisa, she's probably the best model who never got super famous. She should have, she could have, but she never did. But yeah, she probably would have been mega famous if a few different things happened, but she kind of chose not to. But there you go. Right, this is another one of those stupid features that we did, and there's some pages missing and these are knackered, but it kind of sums it up. Again, chimp my ride. So obviously this is when pimp my ride was a big thing, so we decided chimp my ride. So me and Al, and Whitey, here we are here actually, you can't really see too well. We literally took the pretend police car to the I think Longleat, where you can drive through the wildlife park and the monkeys rip the shit out of your cars, and let them wreck it basically. And literally we deliberately, they tell you not to, but we brought fucking ice creams and bananas and stuff to literally try and get the monkeys to trash it as much as humanly possible. But yeah, and we got paid for this stupid shit, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, this is the last one from 2005. This is the first one I'm going to talk about from 2006. There's a couple missing in between. I think I've just lost them, to be perfectly fair. So yeah, I think it's time for a separate video for this, for 2006. So stay tuned, because that one's next.